Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We are live. Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, as always, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. That way, you'll never miss a notification due to shadow banning nonsense, right? So with the introduction out the way, man, let's get the show started. Origin 510, you're jumping the gun. He said Newsom next. Newsom, he's definitely going to be next, but we'll get to Newsom in just a moment. For those of you who don't know what's going on, which many of you should know what's happening by now, is that Tim Walz, right, the Somali daycare scandal fraud scheme, $9 billion+ worth, up to, that has now forced Tim Walz to quit his reelection bid as Minnesota governor, to return for a third straight time. Apparently, this would have been a historic feat. It was something that he was definitely looking forward to. But in the midst of all of this fraud and everything that's going on, and the way that what has hit the fan, especially after Nick Shirley's investigative journalism, Tim Walz quit. He tapped out. He said, I can't do it anymore, because clearly he saw that there was no path to victory in the midst of all this fraud, no path to victory at all whatsoever. And what I want to do is that I want to play, what he spoke on, right? I want to play his press conference because it was just pathetic. He was crying like a baby. Apparently, everything, as always, is Trump's fault. It's the Republicans' fault that apparently, up to $9 billion worth of taxpayer money has been stolen by these, Somali daycares and things like that concerning the feeding our future fraud. Apparently, that's all Trump's fault, right? So what I want to do first is this. Clearly and obviously, it's not Trump's fault. It's the fault of, these folks here, that, you're forced to quit. Somali fraudsters got luxury digs, beachside resort, rented Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis with stolen funds. Tim Walz, this is why you were forced to quit. This is why you have no path to victory to would have been a historic three-peat concerning being the governor of Tim Walz. Okay, this is why I want to go through this article very quickly, only because it's going to lead us to kind of a funny moment that I want to play for you guys right now with this video that I found. But also understand this, Tim Walz, if you're watching, which I'm sure you're not. Guys, it's bad when they're talking about you in the Kenya Times. Okay? That's how you know it's bad. You have when you can't win an election in Kenya. Look at this. U.S. federal probes expose massive fraud in Minnesota programs, which stolen funds laundered into Kenyan real estate. I repeat, with stolen funds laundered into Kenyan real estate. Tim Walz, you couldn't win an election in Kenya. That's how you know things are bad for Tim Walz. But let's check this out quickly, right? Because I want to show you what's going on in Kenya that I find humorous by way of a little Kenyan commentary. But look at this here. Check this out. Fraudster Labin Al-Shiri, I think that's how you say his name, bought a resort in Kenya with his stolen funds. This is a nice little resort that he has here that he bought with his stolen funds. This is a nice little resort, this is very nice, and then as you can see here, the Lux Resort offered cottages and studio apartments to their guests. Very nice, living it up in Kenya, guests could hire their own personal chef. And this is the culprit here. This is the guilty man right here, Labin Yassin Ali Shiar, if that's how you say his name. He pled guilty to wire fraud and money laundering, right? So now, what is this kind of funny video that I keep alluding to before we get to Tim Walz? Because the Tim Walz video is actually funny as well, because he's crying like a baby, blaming everybody, even Nick Shirley, even though he doesn't name him by name. But check this out here. Going back to this article, what we're going to watch is this video from this guy here from TikTok. His name is Dennis the Dreamer. Shout out to him. I don't think he was trying to be funny, but his Kenyan accent makes what he's going to say very hilarious. because he's going to address this article here, but he's going to address it in real time as he's walking, down the streets of Kenya, because I guess he does business down there. And it's just hilarious, man. And it made my day, and hopefully it makes your day too, to get this little laugh off. I want to get this out the way so I don't interrupt the video too much. He starts the video off and he goes, "Ish, Somali people, you have to tell us where you're getting this money, yo." And when he said that, it just took me out. I was dead the first time I heard it. He goes, "Ish, Somali people, tell us where you're getting this money, yo." And then he keeps talking. He goes, "Somali people, please tell us the secret." So anyways, before we get into Tim Walz, shout out once again to the guy. What was his name again? I'm gonna play his video. Dennis, Dennis the Dreamer on TikTok. Somebody, people, you have to tell us where you're getting this money, or tell us the secret. Let's check this out.
Somali people, you must tell us where you're getting this money. Oh, I was in Isli. I went to Isli for a business meeting with a client at the BBS Mall, guys. And the beautiful high-rise apartments under construction I saw in Isli. People have money in Isli. Somali people, please tell us the secret. After finishing my business meeting with the client from the BBS Mall, I decided to take a walk around Isli. And I can tell you, every street in Isli right now has more than 10 buildings under construction. You will see these buildings covered with nets and under construction and not yet complete, or at least recently completed. High-rise apartments, I'm talking about high-rise apartments. That is apartments with 10 floors and above. I mean, every street. And remember, Isli has 12 streets. First street, second street, all the way to 12. And every street has like 10 high-rise apartments under construction or recently finished construction. I mean, guys, I decided to take a walk around this list so I can show you this, man. Somali people have money. These people have money. I don't know what they do, how they do it. I think they're trying to make Isli a city of its own in Nairobi, man. If you come to Isli directly without going through Nairobi CBD, man, you may think this is Nairobi, man. You may think this is the CBD, guys. Like, just this street alone, you can see over 5 buildings, high-rise, covered with nets, meaning under construction. Look, there's one here, there's this one here, there's another one there, that is 5. And it's all these streets all over Isli have at least 6, 7, 8, or even 10 buildings, high-rise buildings under construction, man. Isli, man, you have to tell us where you're getting this money, Somali people. What? And one thing I've realized, guys, if you want to do mjengo construction or your fundi or stuff like that, go to Isli. Utawai kosa kazi. You will always get a job because there's building every corner under construction. Where?
You have to tell us where you're getting this money, or tell us this secret. Well, let me tell my man the secret. What the secret was is that you were supposed to come to Minnesota. That's the secret. You were supposed to get here during Biden's migrant crisis if you were able to get here and go straight to Minnesota, and you would have been good. You would have been good. But, all jokes aside now, at least for the moment, until Tim Walz starts speaking, what he's showing us here is that, out there in Kenya, I'm not going to just say that everybody that's Somali in Kenya that's building up real estate is, corrupt or something like that, right? But the fact that there is a lot of connection, because I've heard about this even prior to these articles, right? This is something that's been circulating for a while now, money getting sent to Kenya and buying up real estate and property in Kenya. I just find it interesting that over the course of the last 7+ years, that we know for a fact that this has been going on, at least 7+ years, concerning all the fraud and the daycare stuff, that at the same time, real estate is booming. And where did he say? Nairobi is where he's at, and it's specifically, and it's known to be coming from Somalis in Kenya. And like the guy keeps saying, Somali, please tell me where you're getting this money, or where are they getting all this money? Okay, please tell us the secrets. But the secret's out and it's over with now. And because the secret's out, that's why Tim Walz is so upset. I want to get into this press conference now. It's about 7 minutes long. We're going to go over the whole thing. I'm not going to interrupt it too much just for the sake of time, because I don't want the stream to be too long, and I just kind of want I just want him to just speak, so you can hear what he has to say. But just the way this guy is crying like a baby and blaming Trump without naming Nick Shirley, he's blaming Nick Shirley. And it's really all your fault. You've allowed this to happen on your watch. You lost your ability to run for re-election, seeing that there was no path to victory because of the fraud that you allowed to let happen in Minnesota. So now let's get into some of the crybaby tears of Tim Walz and just take a listen to what he had to say, man. This is just so pathetic.
Well, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Like many Minnesotans, I have to tell you, I was glad to turn the page on 2025. It was an extraordinarily difficult year for our state, and it ended on a particularly sour note. For the last several years, an organized group of criminals have sought to take advantage of this state's generosity. And even as we make progress in the fight against the fraudsters, we now see an organized group of political actors seeking to take advantage of a crisis. I don't want to mince words here. Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder, meaner place. They want to poison our people against each other by attacking our neighbors. And ultimately, they want to take away much of what makes Minnesota the best place in the country to raise a family. They've already begun trying to withhold funds that were meant to help families afford child care. And they have no intention of stopping there. Make no mistake, we should be concerned about fraud in our state government. We cannot effectively deliver programs and services if we can't earn the public's trust. That's why over the past few years, we've made systemic changes in the way we do business. We've gone to the legislature time and time again to get more tools to combat fraud. We've hired people we fired people who weren't doing their jobs. We've seen people go to jail for stealing from our state. We've cut off whole streams of funding in partnership with the federal government, where we saw widespread criminal activity. We've put new locks on the doors of our remaining programs, and we've hired a new head of program integrity to make sure that those locks can't be broken. All across this state, Minnesotans are hard at work on this problem. Advocates, administrators, investigators are on the front lines defending the integrity of our state's programs, and I want to give a very heartfelt thank you to all of them. There is more to do. A single taxpayer dollar wasted on fraud should be intolerable. And while there's a role to play for everyone, from the legislature to prosecutors to insurance companies to local and county government, the buck does stop with me. My administration has been taking fast, decisive action to solve this crisis. We'll win the fight against the fraudsters. But the political gamesmanship we're seeing from Republicans is only making that fight harder.
Look at how he keeps bringing it right back to Republicans and Trump. This is pathetic. This is so pathetic. Live hard, done, I think your name is. It's Trump's fault, LOL. Tampon Tim always delivers. What about the billions already stolen, Tim? Exactly. What about the billions already stolen? You know, to which that money has been, what do you call it? This motorcycle guy is killing me. It must be a Democrat. It got to be a Democrat that did that. But anyways, as I was saying, you know, like you said, what about the money already stolen and things of that nature? Well, a good deal of it is in Kenya. But even outside of that, you know, we can't forget that a lot of this money was donated to these guys' campaigns, donated to Ilhan Omar's campaign, donated to Jacob Fry's campaign. I forget what the AG's name is in Minnesota, but donated to him as well. You know, so when you're talking about where the money go, it went into a lot of their campaign coffers, as you'd call them, right? But let's carry on because it's going to get worse. You know, he's going to keep blaming Trump, keep blaming Republicans, keep blaming right-wing YouTubers, everybody but himself. This is pathetic. And he's so mad that he had to drop out. He was going to make history. You know, at least that's what he thought by being the 3-time governor of Minnesota. And now instead, he's got to quit and he's crying about it.
We've got Republicans here in the state legislature playing hide and seek with potential whistleblowers. We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares, demanding access to our children.
So you see how he's lying on Nick Shirley? So you're telling me Nick Shirley broke into the daycare? When did Nick Shirley break into any daycares in Minnesota? That's a complete lie. He said there's right-wing YouTubers breaking into daycare centers. That is a crazy lie to put on Nick Shirley without saying his name.
We'll win the fight against the fraudsters. But the political gamesmanship we're seeing from Republicans is only making that fight harder. We've got Republicans here in the state legislature playing hide and seek with potential whistleblowers. We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares, demanding access to our children. We've got the President of the United States demonizing our Somali neighbors and wrongfully confiscating funds that Minnesotans rely on. It's disgusting and it's dangerous. Republicans are playing politics with the future of this state. It's shameful. And I've said it before, and I will continue to say it. We welcome ideas from anyone, in any party, from any walk of life, who wants to help us continue to stay ahead of these criminals. And we welcome the involvement of the federal government. I am grateful to the career professionals at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI who have been helping us fight this fight for years.
If what he's saying is true, then he would be grateful that Nick Shirley blew the door off the hinges when he did his investigative reporting on this, right? But he's not, because Nick Shirley doing what he did is the reason that he now has quit and has to step down from running for governor. That's why he's quitting right now. It's solely because of Nick Shirley.
But I cannot abide the actions of the political leadership in Washington. These opportunists are willing to hurt our people to score cheap points. They and their allies have no intention of helping us solve this problem, and every intention of trying to profit off of it, which
that's the wrong word to use. I think you and your party are the only people that have profited off of this. Your party, and the community of Ilhan Omar has profited greatly off of this. That's why you have people, even people in Kenya, as the video we just watched, saying, Somali people, you have to tell us where you're getting this money, or tell us the secret, please. Okay, even in Kenya, they're begging to know what the secret is, which was come to Tim Walz state while he was running it. But it's too late now. The door has been blown off the hinges. You and everybody there has been exposed, and now you're quitting like a coward.
brings me to this. 2026 is an election year. Election years have a way of ramping up the politics at a time when we simply can't afford more of that in Minnesota. In September, I announced that I would seek a historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year. I'm passing on this race with zero sadness and zero regret. I did not run for this job to have the job. I ran for the job to do the job. Minnesota faces enormous challenges this year, and I refuse to spend a single minute doing anything other than rising to meet this moment. Minnesota has always come first and always will.
No, they haven't. The Somali community has always come first. That's why you changed the Minnesota flag to mirror the Somali flag, which is right behind them. It's almost an identical copy of the Somali flag. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. He doesn't put the people first, not American citizens. He doesn't do that at all. He's put the Somali community first. That's why they bend the knee so hard to them and pander so hard. It's disgusting how hard they pander. We discussed that in the last live stream, that we had. It's just completely ridiculous.
That's what I believe servant leadership demands of me. As an optimist, I'll hold out some hope that my friends on the other side of the aisle will consider what servant leadership demands of them in the moment. We can work together to combat against the criminals. We can work together to rebuild the public's trust and make our state stronger. But make no mistake about it, if Republicans continue down the path of abusing power, smearing entire communities, and running their own fraudulent game at the expense of Minnesotans, I will fight back with everything that I have.
If you were truly going to fight back with everything that you'd have, you would have ran for re-election. But your internal polling showed you didn't stand a chance at winning. That's why you stepped down. Tampon Tim, your internal polling showed that you were going to get washed and obliterated if you ran again. That's why. This has nothing to do with Republicans. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with so-called right-wing conspiracy theorists, YouTubers that he's claiming are breaking into Somali daycares, right? Demanding that the children be handed over. This guy's insane.
I am absolutely confident a Democratic and a DFLer will hold this seat come November. I'm confident that I'll find ways to contribute to the state that I love long after next January. But there'll be time to worry about all that later. Today, I'm proud of the work we've done to make Minnesota America's best place to live and raise kids. From our new paid leave policy to our child tax credit to our school lunch programs feeding every single child. And I'm doubly proud of the incredible team we put together to make this vision a reality. I want to take a moment to thank every member of my staff, to every single state employee who has been part of this fight. Now more than ever, I need you on the job. I need you to help work together to tackle the important work in front of us. And most of all, I want Minnesotans to know how grateful I am for the opportunity to serve this state, for the privilege that I have been given to serve in this office. I'm on the job. I'm focused on making sure that we stay America's best place to live and raise kids. No one will take that away from us. I'm proud of the way we treat our neighbors. I'm proud of the way that we welcome people to this state. I'm proud of the way that we innovate. And I'm proud of the way that we are optimists for the future. No one's taking this away from us. Not the fraudsters. Certainly not this president. Not on my watch. Tomorrow, I'll be back with you. I'll give you an update on America's best paid family medical leave program that is now a week into it. And at that time, I'll take all your questions. Thank you all.
Coward. He didn't even want to take questions. Coward. Coward. He ran. He ran like a coward. He didn't even want to take questions afterwards, after giving that little speech or whatever, because he went to go cry in the car and get his composure together and come back after he's rehearsed some answers for tomorrow. This man's a coward and a criminal and a crook, as far as I'm concerned. In my opinion, that's what I think, you know, what I believe. In my opinion, I assume. Okay? That's what I assume. Look at this here, man. I want to play this last little part again, because let me just play this one more time.
On my watch. Tomorrow,
what is
I'm proud of the way that we are optimists for the future. No one's taking this away from us. Not the fraudsters. Certainly not this president. Not on my watch.
He said no one's going to take this away from us. No, well, you know who did take this away from you. I'll tell you who took this away from you. This guy right here. Nick Shirley snatched your dreams and your hopes of making history and becoming the 3-time governor of Minnesota. He took that from you. He snatched your heart out of your chest. And now Nick Shirley is coming for Gavin Newsom next. Okay. He's coming for Gavin next. He snatched this man's soul. All right. Nick Shirley snatched Tim Walz's soul. And that's just the truth of it too. Because here's what's very interesting. And very quickly, my man with the greatest at name of all time, Coon of Coons. I gotta whisper that. Jesus Christ, with that name. He said, dude, quit, because his balls are to the walls. Serious. I think the Dems ditched him, so the headlines change. They'll condemn his actions by the summer. Well, you're right about that. C of C's, double C, with the greatest YouTube at name of all time. They've already turned on him. The New York Times months ago, or not months ago, but about a month ago now, they came out with a scathing piece about how, all this money was stolen on his watch. And essentially, he just kind of let it happen and looked the other way. So the headlines have turned against him already, or they've already turned against him. And, going back to Nick Shirley here, the Grim Reaper, aka the Grim Reaper, who's going after Gavin Newsom next, hopefully. Prior to Nick Shirley's investigative coverage of this, obviously we were already all kind of talking about this. The mainstream was to a degree. Fox News, obviously, multiple large YouTube channels, obviously, New York Post, so on and so forth. But prior to Nick Shirley talking about this, CNN and MSNBC, those two specifically, now MS Now, they had not covered this story at all. By the time Nick Shirley came to this story and did what he did, we were probably about at least a good 3 weeks in with everybody talking about this and it becoming a big deal and become a bigger and bigger deal week after week after week. So mind you, for 3 weeks, we had all been speaking on this. And CNN and MSNBC quite literally never said anything one time. There was an article that detailed this fact that they didn't speak on at all. Once Nick Shirley spoke on this, and it went super viral, because the reality is the new media is online. The new media is on YouTube, not the mainstream. Once this went crazy viral on social media and on throughout YouTube, then CNN and MSNBC, now MS Now, were forced to speak on this. But when they were forced to speak on it, obviously they were coming out, in defense of the fraudsters, because that's what they do, right? They always defend the criminals. But I say all that to say this man on your screen, Nick Shirley, is truly the Grim Reaper, because he forced the hand of two mainstream media outlets. Think about that. Nick Shirley forced the hand of CNN and MS Now, formerly MSNBC. He forced them to have to speak on this, right? And once again, that also is what ultimately led to Tampon Tim having to quit. There was no path to victory. There was no way that this man could win. There was no way he could win, because he allowed all this to happen on his watch. And like I said before, remember I pulled up the video of, it was a news clip. It was a Fox 9 news clip, local news in Minnesota, where they covered this story 7 years ago. And that's the entire duration of time that Tim Walz has been governor, for the last 7 years. So this quite literally was all happening on your watch the moment you came into office. And now you want to blame Trump, Republicans, and conservative right-wing YouTubers, right? Claiming that Nick Shirley, without saying his name, claiming that conservative right-wing YouTubers are breaking into daycares, demanding children, and stealing classified documents. That is crazy work. That is crazy work. And to think, too, this is a guy that was almost vice president. Almost vice president. This guy. Almost. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are the two biggest clowns in politics that I've seen in forever, even more so than Jasmine Crockett, in my opinion. It feels like a lifetime ago now, but go back to the 2024 election, the Harris-Walz campaign. It was like a circus. It was almost like a joke. Like, it wasn't real. Like, these are the two people that you're running? It's these two? They almost, I shouldn't say almost, because Trump won in a bloodbath. Okay, he blew them out. He won in a bloodbath, right? But these are the people who potentially could have been running the country right now. And I can't even begin to imagine where we would be currently if Harris and Walz actually won. I can't even begin to imagine. And with all that being said, that's going to do it for today's stream. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And do not forget, please, 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 this is so important that you follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group so that we circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. You always get my notifications. You don't have to worry about the foolishness and the nonsense. So with that, thank you all for your time. Until the next video, until next stream, peace, and have a great afternoon.